Today, you'll learn how to sound fluent and natural in English, and you'll do that by removing words, removing phrases from your vocabulary because they're either grammatically incorrect or sound unnatural. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. What do you think about this sentence? I'm knowing the answer. I hear this from my students, even my most advanced students, but this sentence is incorrect. You must say, I know the answer. So never add ing to know. If you want to specify that the action is taking place now, which is the purpose of the present continuous verb tense, you could say, right now I know the answer. So you can still use the time reference right now, even though you can never add ing to the verb know. If you want to make it sound like a routine, you can use an adverb of frequency and say, I always know the answer. If you absolutely wanted to use the ing form, you would have to change the verb. You could say, I'm figuring out the answer. Here, the phrasal verb is to figure out, but it's not a true synonym of I know the answer. It's similar and related, but it's not the same. Don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now you might be wondering, Jennifer, why can't I add ing? It's because the verb know and all the words you'll learn in this lesson are state of verbs. State of verbs describe states of being, not actions. These states of being include knowledge, emotions, possession, and senses. Because they describe states and not actions, they are not used in the progressive ing form. So you need to say I know, not I'm knowing, even if you want to talk about now, right now, or currently. Thinking about what you just learned, what do you think about this sentence? Knowing English grammar makes speaking easier. This sentence is correct because knowing is a gerund verb, not the progressive form of the verb. What do you think about this sentence? She felt proud of knowing the answer. This sentence is correct because, again, knowing is a gerund verb, not the progressive form of the verb. What do you think about this sentence? I appreciate knowing the correct English grammar rules. Does that describe you? This sentence is correct because, yet again, knowing is a gerund verb, not the progressive form of the verb. A very important point to remember throughout this lesson is that state of verbs can be in the gerund form, which is the verb plus ing. Gerund verbs are grammatically required to make a general statement after prepositions and after certain verbs, like in our example sentence, appreciate. Remember, grammatically, the progressive ing form and the gerund ing form are not the same. They look identical, yes, but they follow different grammar rules. You can't say, I'm having 2 cats. You must say, I have 2 cats, which is true. Or she has a, and then whatever noun for possession. She has a car, she has a brother, boyfriend, a cold, she has time, money, patience. Those are all nouns that she possesses. Have is a state of verb with possession because possession represents a state, not an action. But you can say, I was having the weirdest dream when the alarm went off. This is correct. Or, I'm having lunch with Sarah tonight. This is correct. Or, we're having a meeting this afternoon to discuss the project. This is correct. Have is a regular verb, so it can exist in the progressive ing form with an experience, event, or activity, because these represent actions, not states. Thinking about possession, you can't say I'm owning 2 cats because it's the same as possession. I own 2 cats. So you can't use the word possess as well. I'm possessing 2 cats. I possess 2 cats. So have, own, possess, they're all state of verbs. You can't say he's belonging to a team. You must say he belongs to a team. Now you can't say he has been belonging to this team since 2023 because this is the ing progressive form. But you can say he has belonged to this team since 2023. State of verbs can use the perfect form, but not the perfect progressive form. And you would say, of course, this pen belongs to me to represent the same thing as I own, I possess this pen. You can't say this box is containing our old vacation photos. You must say this box contains our old vacation photos because this describes a state, not an action. So in the past, you can say this box was containing our old vacation photos. You must say this box contained, the past simple, our old vacation photos. Or in the future, you can't say this box will be containing our old vacation photos. You must say this box will contain our old vacation photos. State of verbs can use the past, present, or future simple, not the progressive. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. You can't say, I'm seeing a rainbow. You must say, I see a rainbow. Wow, it's beautiful. What about this one? Are you seeing anyone? Oh, what if I asked you this? Are you seeing anyone? Is this correct or incorrect? This sentence is correct and very common. In this case, the verb to see isn't our sense. It means to date, so to be in a romantic relationship. Now, you can reply back and say, I've been seeing Brad for a few months now. So far, so good. This is correct. Or you can say, I'm seeing Brad this weekend. This is correct. So in this case, to see can mean to meet or to spend time with. So you can use this in a broader sense and say, thankfully, she's finally seeing a doctor about her knee pain. So she's meeting with a doctor. But when the verb see is part of your sense, it's a state of verb because senses are state of verbs. This soup tastes amazing. The sense of taste. These flowers smell amazing. The sense of smell. Do you hear that? I think I hear a dog barking. You can't say you're seeming tired. You would say, you seem tired. Did you have a long day? You seem tired. Now you can also say you look tired. In this case, it means in general or overall. But you can also say you're looking tired. Although you may not want to say that to someone, but you can say, oh, you're looking tired today. So you can use the verb look in the ing form because it represents a current, temporary, or changing situation. But the verb seem is a state of verb. Oh, what about this sentence? I'm liking this song. What do you think? Is this correct or incorrect? Well, it depends. If you're taking a language exam, this is incorrect, and you must say, I like this song. But if you're talking casually with your friends and you're a native speaker, this absolutely sounds correct because like, love, dislike, and hate are commonly used in the progressive ing form by natives. We're loving our new house. That sounds very natural to me, even though as a teacher, I would be required to say that is incorrect on a language exam. Or a native speaker would say, I'm hating this new uniform. But just remember, the grammar rules still, even though it's very much used in real speech, the grammar rule still states that these are state of verbs. So to be safe, especially on a language exam, make sure you say, we love our new house. I hate this new uniform. And do not say they're preferring coffee over tea. Yes, this is a verb of preference, like love, like, but you must say they prefer coffee over tea. And natives don't use prefer in the progressive form. So you could ask right now, do you prefer sushi or ramen? You can use a different verb, would you prefer sushi or ramen? And then to reply, I prefer ramen to sushi. Notice that preposition to. Don't say, we're needing your help now. Say, we need your help now. And in a question form, don't ask, are you needing any help now? Ask, do you need any help now? And to answer in the negative, don't say, we're not needing your help now. Say, we don't need your help now. So get comfortable with the different forms, question form, affirmative form, and negative form. And don't say, he's wanting a break. You would say, he wants a break, or we want to learn English, right? Or as a question, do you want some coffee? The verb believe is a state of verb. So don't say, before people were believing, the earth was flat. That's true. Before people believed the earth was flat. That's grammatically correct and factual. But some people are still believing the earth is flat. This is incorrect. You must say some people still believe the earth is flat. Don't say, I'm thinking you're right. This is a state of verb. So you must say, I think you're right. Or I believe you're right. Or I suppose you're right. Or even I guess you're right. State of verbs describe mental states. But you can say she's guessing all of the answers. She is guessing. So the verb guess is a regular verb when it describes an action. So guess can be a mental state in the sense of I think, I believe, I guess. But to guess, there's an action involved. Don't say, is this jacket fitting me okay? Ask, does this jacket fit me okay? And then to reply, the jacket fits you perfectly. Or that puzzle piece doesn't fit. Fit describes suitability or size. It's not an action, it's a state. What do you think about this sentence? I look forward to meet you. I hear this from students, even my most advanced students. But this sentence is incorrect. You must say, I look forward to meeting you. So you can't use the infinitive to plus base verb. Notice here, the to in this sentence isn't the infinitive. The phrase is to look forward to. And then you need a gerund or a noun. The to in this sentence is part of the phrase. It's not part of the verb that follows. You can say, I look forward to working with you. So your verb is to work and you need it in the gerund form, working. You can also use a noun and say, I look forward to the party. So there's no verb here. The party is a something, a noun. You can use a gerund or a noun, but you can never add to plus verb to this phrase. Now you might be wondering, Jennifer, why can't I use the base verb? Remember I said that to in look forward to is not part of the infinitive. To is part of the phrase. Grammatically, to is a preposition in this phrase. And grammatically is preposition plus gerund or noun. That's the grammatical rule. Trust me, you already understand this and use this correctly in your speech. This is easier to understand when the preposition isn't to. For example, I thought about going to the party. I ended up ordering pizza. I look forward to watching your next lesson. Hopefully that describes you. You look forward to watching my next lesson. If that describes you, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. So as you can see, this is only confusing because to functions as both the preposition and part of the infinitive. So you simply need to memorize the phrases in this lesson and you'll have all the information you need. What do you think about this sentence? I'm dedicated to improve my English. This sentence is incorrect. In this sentence, to is part of the phrase to be dedicated to. Grammatically, it's a preposition. So there are two options. You can use a gerund or a noun. With a gerund, you can say, I'm dedicated to improving my English, of course. To change this to a noun, think of a something rather than an action. Perhaps I'm dedicated to my English studies. So here, my English studies is a something, it's a noun. Notice here that the verb to be dedicated to, that's the main verb. So it needs to be conjugated with the subject and the time reference. You could say he was dedicated to his guitar lessons, but then he lost interest. The verb to be is conjugated here in the past simple, third person singular, he was. But dedicated is always in the ed form because it's the past participle adjective. It describes a state or condition, not an action. This applies to all the examples in this lesson with the verb to be in the structure. You can't say they're committed to protect the environment because you don't want the infinitive. To is part of the phrase. You must say they're committed to protecting the environment. So the phrase is to be committed to plus gerund or noun. They're committed to something, the environment, or you could even say they're committed to environmental protection. So here, environmental is the adjective that describes protection. You can't say we're devoted to create a safe space. Just like committed to, it's we're devoted to creating a safe space. So to be, devoted to, plus gerund or noun. For example, we're devoted to the cause of something, or the company was devoted to, and now let's try an action, building trust. So remember to conjugate that word. But keep in mind, the company was determined to build trust. So here is to be determined, and to is the infinitive, so it's plus infinitive. You may say, I'm determined to improve my English. So right now you're probably thinking, but Jennifer, how do I know? How do I know if to is part of the infinitive or if to is a preposition that requires the gerund? Well, to be honest, there is no rule, it's memorization. But in this lesson, I'm sharing 16 phrases. They are the most common 16 phrases you need to know, so just commit to memorizing these 16 phrases. I know you can do it. Here's one you absolutely need to use correctly. Do not say, I'm not used to drive in the snow. You must say, I'm not used to driving in the snow. Hopefully you know this because this is a very common expression. To be used to plus gerund or noun. For example, I'm used to waking up at 5:30 a.m. So this is a feeling of comfort with something difficult or new because it's part of your routine. Now, don't confuse this with I used to wake up at 5:30 a.m. So here the structure is subject plus used in the past and then plus infinitive, to wake up. This is used for a past routine, so the meaning is not the same. You can say, I'm used to waking up at 5:30 a.m. because that's when I used to wake up. Or you can use a noun, which is very common. I'm used to the cold. But do not use subject plus used to plus noun. That does not work. Do not say she's accustomed to work until midnight. She's accustomed to working until midnight. So here is to be accustomed to and then gerund or noun. This is the formal version of to be used to. So in a more formal context, you might say our team is accustomed to managing multiple projects. Or with a noun, our team is accustomed to a heavy workload. But remember, that's the formal version. In your everyday life, you would use I'm used to waking up at 5:30 a.m. Also, do not say he's open to try new things. You must say he's open to trying new things. This is a great phrase. To be open to plus gerund or noun. This means that you're willing to consider, accept, or try something. So your boss or a future boss might ask you, are you open to relocating? So changing where you live for the job. Are you willing to consider it? Are you open to relocating? Now you might say, I'm open to it. So here you're using a pronoun to replace the verb. It represents relocating. I'm open to it, but my wife isn't. My wife isn't open to relocating. Or this is very common with a noun. Are you open to suggestions as something? And then you can say, of course, I look forward to receiving your suggestions, or you can even just use the noun. I look forward to your suggestions. Don't say we're receptive to hear your feedback. Use we're receptive to hearing your feedback. So here the phrase is to be receptive to gerund or noun. This is the formal version of to be open to. Absolutely, you can use to be open to in your daily speech. To be receptive to is for more formal situations. You might say, my boss is receptive to adopting new AI technologies. Or, at first, my boss wasn't receptive to AI as something, and remember to conjugate your verb to be, wasn't receptive to AI, but he got used to the idea. Did you notice here I use to get used to? Do not say I got used to present in English. You must say, I got used to presenting in English. So here the phrase is to get used to plus gerund or noun. Remember before it was to be used to. This time it's to get used to. So this is the same meaning, but it's to talk about the transition from not used to used to. So, for example, if you want to advance in your career, you need to get used to speaking in public. Or you might say, if you want to advance in your career, you need to get used to something public speaking. And this phrase is often used in the past simple to show that the transition is complete. For example, after a lot of practice, repetition, and patience, I finally got used to public speaking. So this means right now I'm used to public speaking, but it focuses on that transition. So both be used to and get used to should be part of your daily speech. Don't say they're opposed to build more condos here. You must say they're opposed to building more condos here. So to be opposed to plus gerund or noun, this means that you do not support an idea or a plan. So someone could say, I thought they were open to the new condo project, a something. And then you can reply and say, they were. They were open to it, open to the new condo project, until they found out the permit would take 24 months. Now they're opposed to it. They're opposed to building the condo. Don't say they objected to pay the extra fee. Say they objected to paying the extra fee. So notice here the structure does not use the verb to be. It's to object. That's the verb you need to conjugate. To object to plus gerund or noun. And this means to protest against or strongly disagree. And it's mainly used in a legal or official way. So on TV, you'll often hear, I object, Your Honor. And in a business context, you'll frequently hear the majority of shareholders objected to merging the companies. That's the action. You can see this as a noun and say the majority of shareholders objected to the merger. That's the something. Don't say he's addicted to play video games. He's addicted to playing video games. To be addicted to plus gerund or noun. For example, many kids are addicted to social media, a something. Now, that sounds more negative. There's consequences to that, but in a lighthearted, jokey way, you might say, Jennifer, I'm addicted to watching your lessons. So you're using it in a positive way. Or again, to be more lighthearted, you might say, I'm addicted to chocolate, or something that doesn't have a severe consequence. Don't say she confessed to lie about her age. She confessed to lying about her age. So here again, to confess to. Confess is the verb you conjugate plus gerund or noun. And if you confess, it means you admit to wrongdoing. For example, she confessed to cheating on the exam. Or someone might say, you need to confess. They might not even include a noun or an action if it's obvious. You need to confess to the theft. So that's the something. Here's another common one you can use, but do not say we're close to finish the project. We're close to finishing the project. So notice to be close to plus gerund or noun. And this means that you're almost done. You're near the end. We were close to launching the new product, but then our main supplier raised the price. So it pushed back the launch. Or you could say we're close to the launch as a something. This next one may be new to you. Don't say she resigned to work late every night. She resigned to working late every night. So here the phrase is to be resigned to. So this is a verb to be expression. And then you add your gerund or noun. Now this means that you accept something because it's required, but you do that unhappily. For example, she's resigned to staying late tonight. So this implies she doesn't want to stay late, but if she refuses, well, she'll be fired. She needs this job, so staying late is a requirement even though she doesn't want to. Or you could use a noun and say she's resigned to the schedule. The schedule is the document that requires her to stay late. Now, don't confuse this with she resigned. So to resign means to quit. It's the formal version of to quit. So you could say, I submitted my letter of resignation, which is the document that says I quit, I resign. But this phrase is to be resigned to doing something. I'm resigned to working for this company until I retire. Now your friend might ask you, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just resign? How about this one? Don't say he's partial to eat homemade meals. Use he's partial to eating homemade meals. The phrase is to be partial to, and then your gerund or noun. This is a useful phrase. It means that you have a preference for one thing over others. So someone might ask you, are you open to going on a beach vacation? Are you willing to do this? Now you can reply and say, well, to be honest, I'm partial to the mountains. So you're saying, I prefer the mountains over the beach. I'm partial to the mountains as something. But you could add, but I'm open to it. I'm open to going to the beach. Which beach? Or you can use a verb. To be honest, I'm partial to going on mountain vacations, but I'm not opposed to the beach. I'm not opposed to going to the beach. Which one? So you can use these expressions together. Just make sure you never use to plus verb after these 16 expressions in this lesson. What do you think about this sentence? I need a bread. Is this correct or incorrect? This is incorrect because you should never add a or an to this word. You can simply omit the article and say, I need bread. You can also use a quantifier, I need some bread, or you can use a unit of measurement. I need a loaf of bread. This, of course, means the full bread, but if you only want one piece, you can use a different unit of measurement. You can say, I need a slice of bread. Now you might be wondering, why can't I add a or an to this word or all the words that we'll review in this lesson? Do you know why? It's because the words that we'll review are considered uncountable nouns. And uncountable nouns don't use singular articles. A and an are the singular articles in English. But they can use a quantifier, such as some bread, or a measurement, a loaf of bread. Also remember that uncountable nouns don't have a plural form. So you would say, I need some bread. The noun is singular, even though some sounds like more than one. You don't say, I need some breads. What about this sentence? Can I give you an advice? This is incorrect. You can say, can I give you some advice? You can omit the article as well, but it's very common to use the word some. But remember, advice is always singular. So you cannot say, even though I hear it every day, even from my advanced students, you cannot say, can I give you some advices? Because the word advices does not exist in English. You can also use a unit of measurement, and in this case, it's can I give you a piece of advice if you want to specify one. So do you want me to give you more advice on how to use articles correctly? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. Now notice that you must memorize the specific measurement word used with the uncountable noun because they're different. We saw a loaf of bread, a slice of bread, a piece of advice. So make sure you're paying attention to those. You can't say he has a money because money is an uncountable noun, but you can say he has some money, he has a lot of money, or you can make this negative and say he doesn't have a lot of money. Now in this case, the unit of measurement would be dollars for American money. He has $1, which represents $1. He has $200. So notice here you put the S because it is countable. Now you could also say he has a bill, which represents paper money, and you can say he has a $10 bill, for example. Many food items are considered uncountable. We already saw bread, and you cannot say, can you buy a lettuce? You can't use an article with lettuce. There's an interesting unit of measurement. We say, can you buy a head of lettuce, which represents one lettuce. Or what a native speaker would say is simply, can you buy lettuce? Now, if you want to be specific about the quantity, you cannot say, can you buy 2 lettuces? Because lettuce is uncountable. So you would have to take the unit of measurement and make that plural. Can you buy 2 heads with the S? 2 heads of lettuce. So remember, it's the unit of measurement that takes the plural form, not the uncountable noun. Make sure you don't say, we need a milk. You would simply say, we need milk, omit the article. You can use a quantifier, we need some milk or more milk. Now, if you want to use a unit of measurement, do you know what it is? Now, in North America, you can either get a carton of milk, which is a smaller size, or a jug of milk, which is a larger size. You can't say, I bought a clothing. The word clothing is uncountable, but you can absolutely say, I bought a shirt, a sweater, a skirt, a bag, a purse, or many other items. Or you can say, I bought some clothing. Remember, no S. But you can also say clothes, which has the S on it. The unit of measurement for clothing, which is uncountable, is I bought an item of clothing. Now remember, when your unit of measurement starts with a vowel sound, you need an instead of a. An item of clothing. So an item of clothing would represent a skirt or a shirt. It could also be a pair of jeans. So notice, jeans is always plural, but the unit of measurement, the singular unit, is a pair of jeans, a pair of pants, a pair of shoes, or a pair of mittens, because there are always 2 with those items. Now you can't say, I bought an item of clothes, because it always has the plural form, but you can say, I bought some clothes. You can't say, I heard an interesting news today. So there's an adjective interesting, but it's an news, or a news without the adjective. That doesn't work. You can use a modifier and say, I heard some interesting news today. That sounds natural. Or the unit of measurement, do you know what it is? I heard an interesting piece of news today. Now that means 1. So if you want to refer to 3 separate things, you would say, I heard 3 interesting pieces with the S of news, also with the S today. Keep in mind, news is uncountable, but it's always spelled with an S, but it's conjugated as singular, so it's conjugated as it. The news, it, is interesting. Now you can't ask someone, do you take a sugar in your coffee? You would simply say, do you take sugar in your coffee? Or you can use any in the question form. Do you take any sugar in your coffee? And to answer, you can say, yes, I take 1 cube, 1 spoonful, or 1 packet of sugar, depending on how the sugar comes. So to make that plural, you would say, yes, I take 2 cubes. In the context of sugar, you can even drop that because it's obvious, but you could also say 2 cubes of sugar. Now just note that conversationally, natives will say, yes, I take 1 sugar or 2 sugars to simply represent 2 spoonfuls or packets of sugar, but keep in mind this isn't a general rule. This is specifically with sugar in drinks, even though sugar is uncountable. Continuing with food, you can say, do you want a cheese? Again, in a question form, use the modifier any. Do you want any cheese? Or you can offer, do you want a slice of cheese? That would be for a sandwich. Now, just to eat as a snack, you can ask someone, do you want a piece of cheese? And often they come in very pretty cubes at parties with a toothpick. Do you want a cube of cheese? Now, to refer to the whole cheese, you can say, do you want a brick of cheese? Don't say, I need a paper, but you can say, I need a sheet of paper. You could also say a piece of paper, but sheet is the most common. Or you can ask someone, do you have any paper? And then they might ask you, oh, how many sheets do you need? Or sheets of paper. But if it's obvious that it's paper, you can drop that and just use the unit of measurement. Keep in mind, paper is uncountable when referring to the material that you write on. But paper is countable when referring to the information or documents. For example, I have a paper to review. This is 1 document, so 1 sheet of paper with information on it. Or you might say, there are so many papers on her desk, because remember, as the countable noun, it can be singular or plural. So here, this represents there are so many documents, so again, sheets of paper with information on them. You can't say he bought her a jewelry, but you can use the unit of measurement and say he bought her a piece of jewelry, which is 1 item. But the actual name of the jewelry, you can say he bought her a ring, a necklace, or a bracelet. But earrings, there are always 2. So in that case, it's always plural. He bought her earrings. But you could certainly say, oh no, I lost a earring to represent 1. So it is possible. Now to put these together, you can say he bought her 2 pieces, with that S, 2 pieces of jewelry, a ring, and a matching bracelet. Don't say, do you have a luggage? That doesn't work. But you can say, do you have a bag or a suitcase? So bag and suitcase are regular nouns, singular, plural, but luggage is a collective noun. But for all 3, you can say, do you have any luggage? But any is a plural word. So for bags and suitcases, you would add the S. Do you have any luggage, bags, or suitcases? You can reply and say, yes, I have 1 piece of luggage, or yes, I have 2 pieces of luggage. Now let's talk about soap. You can't say, I made you a soap, but there is a unit of measurement. Do you know what it is? I made you a bar of soap, or I made you 3 bars of soap. Or again, the quantifier, I made you some soap. You can say, I have a sand in my eye, because the word sand is uncountable. You would simply say, I have sand in my eye, because usually you don't specify the quantity. is common to use some. I have some sand in my eye. But if you want to be precise, the unit of measurement is I have a grain of sand in my eye. Let's go back to cooking. You can't say, did you buy a butter? So it's common to just omit the article and just say, did you buy butter? Again, in a question form, it's common to add any. Did you buy any butter? Now, there is a unit of measurement. Did you buy a stick of butter? Now, this unit of measurement, a stick of, is commonly used for recipes. So you'll see this recipe calls for, which means requires, 2 sticks of butter. And just a fun fact, 1 stick of butter is half a cup of butter, which is another unit of measurement. Now, you also can't say, I have a toothpaste. So toothpaste is a collective noun. You would just say, I have toothpaste. You could say, I have enough toothpaste or a lot of toothpaste. So you don't always have to just say some. There are other modifiers that you can use. But there is a unit of measurement. Do you know what that is? I have a tube of toothpaste, a tube of toothpaste. You could say, I bought 3 tubes of toothpaste. They were buy 2, get 1 free. Buy 2 tubes, get 1 tube free. What do you think about this sentence? I have some informations for you. I hear this from students, even my most advanced students, but this sentence is incorrect. You must say, I have some information for you. So never add S to information. You could also say, if you wanted to specify one, you could say, I have a piece of information for you. So here you're saying a piece of. Now that means one. If you wanted to make it sound like 2, you would say, I have 2 pieces of information for you. So notice, you add the S to pieces, which is the unit of measurement, but you never add S to information. Now, you could always change the word and say, I have some reports or some articles for you, because both of these words take a plural form. You can add an S to them. Now, you might be wondering, Jennifer, why can't I add S? Well, it's because information and all the words that you'll learn in this lesson are uncountable nouns, which means they don't have a plural form. So you say, I need some information. Even though some sounds plural more than one, you don't add an S. So you don't say informations. Now also notice that you don't use singular articles. So you don't add a or an. You can simply say, I need information, not an information. And also notice you can use a quantifier, some, or a unit of measurement, which in this case is a piece of. What do you think about this sentence? She gave me many furnitures. This sentence is incorrect because furniture is an uncountable noun. Because it's an uncountable noun, you also cannot say many. Instead, you can say, she gave me some furniture, much furniture, or a lot of furniture. Or you can use a unit of measurement. She gave me a piece of furniture. You can also use an item of furniture. Or you could use a noun that is a regular noun. She gave me a couch, 2 tables, and 3 chairs. So also remember, many is used with plural countable nouns. Some, much, a lot of are used with uncountable nouns. You can't say she shared all her researches on the topic because research is an uncountable noun. She shared all her research. Never add an S to research on the topic. Now, you can use a different verb. With research, it's common to use do or conduct research. She's done or conducted so much research. Or you can use a countable noun. She's done 1 study, 2 studies on the topic. You can also say she presented her research findings at the conference. You can add findings, which is always plural, and then research tells you what type of findings. You can't say, I need more evidences before I decide. You can say, I need more evidence before I decide. Or you can use a countable noun. I need more facts, statistics before I decide. Now, if you want to use a unit of measurement, you can say the police found 2 pieces. Remember that as goes on the unit of measurement. 2 pieces of evidence, and maybe even use an adjective. 2 key pieces of evidence. Don't say, I need to pack some stuffs for the trip. I need to pack some stuff, an uncountable noun. Now, you can use I need to pack some things because things is countable, or simply items for the trip. Now, both stuff and things, this represents unspecified items. In this context, it sounds like possessions, but it can also represent tasks that you need to do. I'm sure you have said, I have so much stuff to do tonight. Or I have so many things to do tonight. Don't say the gym bought many equipments. You can say the gym bought much, so much, a lot of equipment. Or you can say they gave us 3 pieces, remember with that S, of equipment, no S. Or you can use a countable noun. They bought 3 sets of weights. So notice here, set of is the unit of measurement, but because weight is a regular noun, you still add that S because it's plural. They bought 3 sets of weights, 5 treadmills, and 10 mats. I certainly hope you don't say I did all my English homeworks, because homework is an uncountable noun. I did all my English homework, never with an S. Or you can say, I did 3 assignments, a regular noun, tasks, presentations, reports, and you can even add homework before. I did 3 homework assignments to let you know what type of assignments. Also, make sure you say, I have tons of work to do. I have tons of homework, I have tons of work. Never with an S, they're uncountable nouns, they're always singular. And also, do not say, Jennifer, thanks for all your feedbacks. You need to say, thanks for all your feedback, because it's an uncountable noun. Countable nouns are thanks for your corrections, with an S, comments, suggestions, revisions, or changes. Now, you could say the teacher gave me 3 pieces of feedback, or 3 corrections, for example. Also, don't say, Jennifer, I appreciate your helps. You may know this. Help is an uncountable noun. I appreciate your help. Help, support, guidance, assistance, care, they are all uncountable nouns, so never add an S. And do not say, I want to learn new vocabularies with an S. Vocabulary is uncountable. I want to learn new vocabulary. Or you can use a countable noun. I want to learn new words, phrases, nouns, phrasal verbs, idioms, expressions, many other countable nouns. Now, what about this sentence? The students have limited vocabularies. This is correct. In this sentence, vocabularies in the plural form, it sounds like Paul has a limited vocabulary. Jane has a limited vocabulary. Paul and Jane have limited vocabularies. So it is two individual vocabularies together. Don't say the traffics are bad today. Traffic is uncountable, but also remember that it may impact your verb choice. So you need a singular verb conjugation with uncountable nouns. The traffic is bad today. Countable nouns are the roads, the streets, the highways. Now, because they're plural, you need are. The roads are bad today. Or you can say there are so many cars on the road. Don't tell someone you need more sleeps. Just say you need more sleep. And equally, rest is an uncountable noun. But naps is a countable noun. You need more naps. I had 3 naps today. Also, remember that sleep is a verb. So if you see it with an S, she sleeps for 8 hours every night, this is because it's the verb conjugated in the present simple with third person singular. If it were a noun, it's uncountable, so no S. She gets 8 hours of sleep. So sleep is a noun and get is the verb in this sentence. Don't say you need to make more progresses. Progress is an uncountable noun. You need to make more progress. Or use a countable noun. You need to make more improvements or developments. Again, these can be verbs. So you could say you need to progress, to improve, to develop more, but those are verbs. Don't say, I heard some great musics. Simply, I heard some great music, uncountable. But common countable nouns, I heard a great song. Because remember, if it's singular and countable, you need either a number, one great song, or an article, a great song. 2 great songs with the S. Or you can say, I heard 3 new artists, bands at the music festival. Just like music, don't say, I heard some great poetries. Again, that's an uncountable noun. I heard some great poetry. Poems is countable. So you can say, I heard some great poems. Or maybe she wrote 3 books of poetry. So book of is the unit of measurement. Books of poetry or 3 great books of poems. Because remember, poems is countable. Don't say, we had so many funs last night. You may know that doesn't sound great. Say, we had so much fun last night. You can also use a great time. We had a great time last night, and you can use a different adjective. We had an amazing time. Now, this is a countable noun. So we had some great times together over the years. So one great time, one great time, one great time, and together it's countable. What do you think about this sentence? We usually eat the breakfast around 7:30. This sentence is incorrect. You must say we usually eat breakfast around 7:30. So never add the to breakfast, lunch, or dinner. For example, kids, lunch is ready. You could use a possessive. You could say, kids, your dinner is ready. You can do that, but don't say, kids, the dinner is ready. Now you might be wondering, Jennifer, why can't I add the? It's because some nouns don't use the when the nouns are used generally, routinely, or abstractly. Keep in mind, this is not a general rule for all nouns. So don't take the information I'm sharing with you and apply it to all nouns. You need to memorize the nouns in this lesson, and the information I'm sharing applies to these nouns. Remember our example, we usually eat breakfast around 7:30. In this case, don't add the because we're talking about a general breakfast. But keep in mind throughout this lesson that it is possible to add the if you change the sentence structure and change the meaning. I can absolutely say the breakfast you made yesterday was so delicious. In this case, you add the because it's a specific breakfast, the one you made yesterday. In this sentence, it would be grammatically incorrect without the. Keeping what we just reviewed in mind, what do you think about this sentence? The happiness is the most important thing in life. This sentence is incorrect. You simply want happiness is the most important thing in life. There is no the before happiness because we're talking about general happiness. You can think of it as general or abstract. But do you agree with that? Happiness is the most important thing in life? If you do, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. I certainly do, so hopefully you do as well. Now remember, you can take a general or abstract concept like happiness and make it specific. For example, I will never forget the happiness I felt when I held my child for the first time. So in this case, you add the because it's specific happiness. It's the happiness caused by holding my child. So throughout this lesson, always think about how you can have a general sentence without the and a specific sentence with the. For example, I just want more happiness in my life. General. I just want more of the happiness I felt when I was a kid. Specific. Don't say every day I drive my kids to the school at 7:30 a.m. You may already know this one. You would simply say every day I drive my kids to school at 7:30 a.m. There is no the added before school because it's a routine location. This applies to school, work, home, and church. So just remember those 4 locations. But remember, you can always make it a specific location. Did you hear that the school was closed today because of an electrical issue? So in this case, it could be the school downtown, the school next to a library. It's a specific location. It's not the routine school that I go to or my kids go to. In the morning, you would simply say, kids, make sure you're ready for school in 10 minutes. But remember, you can make it specific by saying she dropped off some supplies at the school where she used to teach, a specific school. Don't say, I love listening to the music every day. You know this, right? I love listening to music every day. No the because we're talking about general music. So in a general sense, music helps me focus while studying. No the. This is a general concept. But you could say the music helps me focus while studying. Keep in mind, if you add the, it becomes specific music. So it should be obvious based on the context what specific music you're referring to. For example, the music currently playing helps me focus while studying. In general, you can say, I love music. To be specific, I loved the music at the party. What do you think about this sentence? We're moving to the United States. This is correct. But keep in mind that proper nouns such as countries and cities don't take the. The United States, the United Kingdom are the most common exceptions. So you never add the to proper nouns unless it's an exception. So you would say, I've been to Canada, to Japan, to Germany, to Brazil, and the United States. You would not say the Canada is beautiful. You would simply say Canada is beautiful. Thinking of the United States, the exception, you would not say, have you ever been to the Central Park in New York? You need to say, have you ever been to Central Park in New York? So here, Central Park is a proper noun, which means it's an official name. Common ones are Central Park, Buckingham Palace, Times Square. Don't add the. But keep in mind, and this is confusing and requires memorization, the can be included as part of the official name. For example, last year I went to France just to see the Eiffel Tower. So when you learn the proper name of landmarks or places, you have to learn if the is included in the proper name or not, because the proper name is the Eiffel Tower. The is part of the name. This applies to the White House, the Colosseum, the Taj Mahal. Let's review this sentence. Last year, we visited Sydney, Australia, and our highlight was seeing the Sydney Opera House. So here, the is part of the proper name. The Sydney Opera House is the name of the landmark in Sydney. Don't say, are you watching the Super Bowl 2025? Simply say, are you watching Super Bowl 2025? This is because Super Bowl 2025 is a proper noun without the. But if you don't use 2025 or whatever year it is, you would simply say, are you watching the Super Bowl? So in this case, the Super Bowl is a proper noun with the. Don't say, I love World Cup. You need to say, I love the World Cup. Don't say, I went to Olympics. I went to the Olympics. So again, you simply need to memorize if the is part of the proper noun. Don't say, one day I'd love to climb the Mount Everest, because it isn't part of the proper noun. One day I'd love to climb Mount Everest. One day I'd love to swim in Lake Tahoe. The guideline is, notice I said guideline, it's not a rule, it's a guideline. Know the with unique mountains. So Mount Everest is a unique mountain. And know the with lakes. But again, that's a guideline. You would use the in the following. Have you ever climbed the Himalayas, swam in the Dead Sea, or visited the Sahara Desert? So again, the guideline, not the rule, the guideline is add the to ranges or groups. So the Himalayas, it's a range of mountains. Same with the Sahara Desert, you can think of it as a range. And also add the to large bodies of water such as seas, rivers, and oceans. But again, it's a guideline. Let's review this advanced example. By 2090, the vegetables will represent more than 60% of our daily diet. Wow, this sounds very advanced, but it's incorrect because you wouldn't add the. And you don't add the because vegetables here is general. It's general vegetables. Remember, this goes back to our general versus specific. Let's see how we can make vegetables specific and add the. By 2090, the vegetables grown in the Netherlands will represent more than 60% of our daily diet. So in this case, you add the because now it's not general vegetables, it's specific vegetables, the ones grown in the Netherlands. Don't say she's majoring in the psychology at university. Simply say she's majoring in psychology at university. Know the with academic subjects, so psychology, biology, math, whatever that subject is. Now you could say the psychology department is hosting a networking event tonight. In this case, the is added to department. The department, because department is a countable noun. Psychology, the psychology department, describes the department. So psychology functions as an adjective. The department, the psychology department. Here's one I hear a lot of mistakes with. Don't say they're taking action to fight the climate change. Simply say they're taking action to fight climate change. Know the with climate change because it's considered a general concept. Now, you could say we need to address the climate change issue. Think about what we just learned with the psychology department. In this case, the is added to issue because issue is a countable noun. Climate change describes the issue. What type of issue? A climate change issue. So climate change is an adjective. Coming back to sports, don't say he always plays the basketball after school. Simply say he always plays basketball after school. Know the with sports. So you would say tennis is my favorite sport, but hockey is my husband's favorite. What about you? What's your favorite sport? Now you could absolutely say thanks for the basketball, but in this case, basketball isn't the sport, it's the thing, it's the noun, and it's a countable noun, so that's why you add the. It's a specific countable noun, the basketball you gave me. So you can say thanks for the basketball. Now I can play basketball, the sport. Now I can play basketball anytime. Here's a common mistake I hear. Don't say you should discuss this with the human resources. Human resources is often shortened to HR. So you should discuss this with the HR. Don't say that. Simply say you should discuss this with human resources with HR. In this case, know the, because human resources is a proper name. It's the proper name of the department. So you would say we had a meeting with accounting, HR, sales, and legal. Those are the names of the departments. But you can absolutely say we had a meeting with the accounting team. And you should know why. Because the is added to team. Team is a countable noun. The team. What type of team? Accounting describes team, so it's the adjective. The accounting team. Don't say the company is investing in the technology to improve efficiency. The company is investing in technology. So in this case, know the because technology is general. So in a general sense, you would say advances in technology. In general, advances in technology have reduced climate change. Again, a general concept. You can make it specific though and say the technology we developed last year will reduce climate change. So again, it's specific technology, the one we developed last year. Don't say the honesty is something I really value in friendships. Simply say honesty is something I really value in friendships. The same reason we learned with happiness is just a general concept. You could be specific. The honesty you showed at the meeting was brave. So again, it's not honesty as a general concept, it's specific, the honesty you showed at the meeting. If you hear someone say, I appreciate honesty, then you know they're talking about it as a general concept more abstractly. If you hear someone say, I appreciate the honesty, even if they don't continue on, you know it's specific, and perhaps it's obvious based on context. Your friend just shared with you that she doesn't like your haircut. So you say, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty you just showed when you let me know that you don't like my haircut. Don't say everyone deserves the love. Everyone deserves love. Of course, know the because it's a general concept. Love is what makes life meaningful. Let's look at how we can make this specific. The love between them is strong. Now it's not just any love, it's specific love, the love between them. Or you could say, can you feel the love in this house? So again, it's specific love, the love in this house. I know this is a confusing topic. If you want me to keep making lessons on this, put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. You can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.